Welcome back to Roundtable Rationality. Today we're going to chat about a couple topics, being an atheist versus being an anti-theist, and another topic that's near and dear to my heart, flat earthers. We got Uzulu and Pin up here, and we may expect a couple other guests to jump in a little while. You guys doing all right? Life good to you?
I'm powering through.
We were just chatting about the Drunken Peasants here a minute ago, and there is one topic I want to bring up about the Drunken Peasants show. Fucking Evan LeFavor. Holy shit, what a guest.
Oh, you mean God?
Yeah, that guy was great.
He was actually surprisingly good, yeah.
Yeah, he was killing me, dude. It was so funny.
Yeah, and if only he hadn't done the pots and pans musical number, I would think that like he's just got this fun delusion, and that's the only thing wrong with him.
Yeah, I was watching some of his older stuff after that episode, and he's got a whole like series of like off the cuff rap videos, and some of them are pretty good. I mean, he's feeling it, that's for sure, and that's always good. But phew, man,
Cooking up a beat.
Yeah, it's out there.
You're making me really jealous. I didn't watch this.
Oh, you've got to see it. He's probably the best version of God that's ever been thought of. It's great.
Yeah, honestly, like his theology is modern. It's quite good. It's still crazy, but it's better than the actual other theisms.
I'm kind of leaning toward he knows what's up. He doesn't actually believe the bullshit. It's just a really good act.
To me, like it could be either. It doesn't really matter. If it's an act, it's a convincing one.
Yeah, that it is. So if we were to be anti-theist, if somebody was to be anti-theist, do you think they could actually be anti-Evan LeFavor? Would he even care?
How could you be anti-Evan LeFavor? Come on.
Yeah,
he's the
he's
biological
so nice.
father of Jesus Christ. Well, yeah. The anti-theist thing is, my understanding is that the word refers to someone who is against religion in general, not necessarily theists. So anti-theism would probably make more sense if we're talking about both.
Yeah, that's the thing. There definitely is a line between anti-theism and anti-theist. I mean, anybody that proposes to be an anti-theist, it kind of bothers me a little bit. It's almost like my only issue with that, it almost seems like you would be sort of prejudging, being prejudiced towards somebody just because they're religious. Which I don't know if that's necessarily a moral thing to do.
Yeah, I've seen a manifestation of that in someone actually who was I'm almost loath to bring up the topic, but with someone who was a Joey, atheist Roof fan, and I actually saw him find these people and say, hey, this is my sort of crowd, and then follow, and he just switched immediately to becoming an atheist Roof fan in front of me, and his thing seemed to be he was an atheist, but he had this thing where he'd been brought up as atheist, been brought up being taught science and all this stuff, and that gave him this massive inflated ego where he was like, okay, so if you weren't brought up with science, then you're irrational, you're stupid, you're lesser than me. And because I was raised in a country where there is an institutional church, and there was some of that in school, but not a lot, it wasn't indoctrination, it was just sort of themed, he concluded that I was irrational because of that. I will say from my own perspective that he seemed manifestly and enormously irrational, and perhaps all I've told you so far is enough for you to judge the same thing. But that to me was an anti-theist rather than someone who is anti-theism.
I always find it interesting in the UK where you guys have that institutionalized religion, state religion, and yet at the same time I think you guys have a higher population of people that don't actually follow any religion.
Yeah, there are different studies, but some of them find that France is the most atheistic country in the world, some of them find that the UK is. And that makes me kind of proud, actually.
Oh, I didn't catch that last thing you said. It was cutting out. What was the last part you said?
Some studies find that France is the most atheistic country in the world, some studies find that England is the most atheistic country in the world, and that makes me kind of proud.
Yeah, I mean, heck, you guys have it going on over in Europe, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Anglican Church is so soft. And actually, the guy who is the Archbishop of Canterbury, or at least a recent one, who's the head of the Anglican Church. Seems like just a very pleasant individual who's a genuine philosopher, who's interested in science, and just has this sort of very light belief in God. That's about it. He seems like a excellent individual in general. I think he's a friend of Dawkins, actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hold on to it out of the fear factor. It's like that sort of just fear of death factor, and they just kind of hold on to that little bit of hope.
Well, I did for the longest time because not only because I live in the South, I lived in the South, but because it almost felt like, you'd look around at all these people that you kind of tend to respect and look up to, and then it almost is like you feel like there's something wrong with yourself that you don't feel that, like what they are saying that they do.
Mm.
And as far as being anti-theist, in some ways I might be able to be considered that, only because there is a certain prejudice I do hold. I like some theists, I really do, but do I respect them as much as theists? No, I don't, because I just feel like they're a little more gullible.
Yeah, and that kind of is the whole thing with the flat earther thing, I find. It seems like when you start believing, when you have a bad idea, you hold on to a bad ideology, it seems easier to convince people to believe in other bad ideologies. And I'm not saying that's, across the board, but it seems to be a theme with a lot of people, like the anti-evolution crowd, the flat earther crowd. Like, they can be easily convinced by bad arguments.
Yeah, I've noticed actually, I don't want to get too broad, but I've noticed a very concerning opposition to science, which could be described as anti-knowledge, which I find indefensible in the world right now, and probably has been for many years. Evolution, vaccination, spherical Earth, even stuff like heliocentrism, at least relative to our solar system, that is. These kinds of crazy ideas that defy what we know about science, and young Earth creationism as well. And I feel like I'd like to understand the root cause of this. And I feel like creationism might be part of it, but I think it's probably more general than that. I think it might be that science is venturing further from the scope of common sense and what is easily perceivable around us. Evolution is difficult for some people to get their heads around, even though I think it's very simple. And there's also the appeal of conspiracy, that there's lots of reasons why having a conspiracy theory, especially a global conspiracy theory, appeals to some people. It helps them to understand very complex, very nuanced international phenomenon. Just with this quick and easy thing, they can say, hey, I know this thing that no one else knows, even though they just made it up. There's lots of reasons that would appeal to someone.
Yeah, it seems like the easy way out. It's always the easy way out. It's the easiest thing to do. Just to, it also, I think, has a lot to do with trust. I mean, people, they trust in Magic Sky Daddy, and he would never lie to them. And whereas, like, this group of scientists, like you said, it's sort of conspiracy theory-esque, like there's some kind of, covert plan to take over the world or something, or take over people's minds. It delves down a pretty deep rabbit hole when you really start looking into it.
Yeah, and the things you have to believe that evolution is a lie, the millions that would have to be on the payroll, that would have to deny evidence that they find.
Do you guys ever watch a YouTuber by the name of Wazulu? He does a show out of Canada. It's basically, man, he's like a Kent Hovind clone almost. Let me think. Wazulu, what is his thing called? He does a video every couple weeks. You know who I'm talking about?
No, but I'm disappointed to share some of my internet name with him.
What's that? You're what?
I'm disappointed to share some of my internet name with him.
Oh, right. Well, it's not. Yeah. It's not spelled the same, but it is similar. I wish let me see if I can even find Wazulu's stuff. Let me look real quick. Maybe I can actually show a quick thing of him.
So is he a multiple conspiracy nut, flat earther, anti-vaccine? What is it? The chemtrails?
As far as I know, he doesn't go quite that far. His name's Ian Juby. Do you know who I'm talking about now?
Sorry, I still no.
Okay. He's just mainly on the creation and stuff. Hold on. Oh,
Okay.
could you guys actually hear what was just playing?
Briefly, yeah.
Okay, was it like music?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can pull up something we can watch real quick. He is very interesting. Yeah, and he's done videos forever. Actually, the guy's a robotic engineer, is what he actually did.
Are you tweeting some stuff? Somebody's blowing up.
No, that's just you, Pinup. You're popular.
I
You
have
are.
15 followers in the last less than 24 hours, which is weird.
Dude, I had quite a conversation with a guy the other day about evolution. Oh my gosh, man, it was very odd. He absolutely refuses to believe that white people, Asian people, all the different races of people, quote unquote, none of them actually came from Africa. Like, that the entire human population wasn't once upon a time all, African people. It's very odd. Let me see if I can find a good one.
That sounds like it might just be racism, but I don't know. I mean, that sounds too specific to be just science denial.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both, and I mean, he's like, oh well, logically, you must think we came from chimps then. Well, that's illogical as fuck. I mean, that's not at all what's going on. Let me see if I can find a good Genesis week here. Oh my God, Ian Juby cracks me up.
See, I
He
get
did.
mad at my boyfriend Michael. I get mad at him because, well, I admire the fact that he wanted to come home and share with me something that they discovered new for evolution. But when he was describing it, he kept saying that there's really no proof for evolution, but they did find this, and I'm sitting here like face palming the whole time. I'm like, you should know this. There is so much proof for evolution. Stop saying that. So we ended up getting into a little bit of an argument just over that because you know how women are, and he just wants to introduce me the right way, and he wasn't.
Okay, let me see if I can get this screen share to work real quick, and we'll listen to a little bit of Ian Juby because he is
All right.
he's entertaining to say the least. Let's see.
All right, sounds good.
Um,
Lance should be getting on, by the way.
okay, great. Okay, screen share. All right, can you see that?
I can see a button I can press to maybe watch it. It hasn't come through yet. It probably will in a moment, though.
Okay. I'll play a little bit of it. You can hear it.
I see it now. It should probably be on the stream as well. Oh, this guy! Ahmed's got some videos about him. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you recognize him?
I do recognize him. I think Pinup will too.
He's very funny fellow. Let's hear what he has to say, because I haven't even watched this Ian Juby episode yet.
Lance is here.
Hey, Lance. We'll skip the music real quick.
Late to the party.
We can only just hear it.
Is that right? Okay.
We can only just hear it, yeah. I think it's just through your mic that we can hear it.
Okay, that should help maybe. Can you see it now? Oh, you mean you can like just hear it as in it's really quiet?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, let me see if I can turn it up as loud as I can.
California, what with the extreme mutation rate and all, I am never moving to California. How do you guys even survive living there? 90% of my household items have warning labels saying this substance is known to cause cancer in the state of California. Anyway, the Iowa...
Yeah, that seems to be a little bit of science denial to me.
I don't understand what he's saying there.
Yeah,
Most of his household items say that they'll cause cancer in California.
Yeah, what it is in the U.S., so each state health department kind of researches products, and they can make it so that certain things can't be sold in the state. And it's sort of odd. It's not very common. It doesn't happen very often, but and you'll always get tags on things like, let's say, mattresses or something silly like that, where it'll actually say this item was made with chemicals that are known to cause cancer to California, to the state of California.
I see. Known to California to cause cancer.
Right, right. And so what he's making a joke there where, oh, I don't want to live in California because apparently everything there causes cancer. You know, that's kind of the way he's going with that.
So his joke might have been sort of an attack on science, but really it's an attack on messed up legal system.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, and usually
Convoluted.
the thing is with the state of California is usually they're the first ones to kind of do the scientific research into the safety of different products.
I see.
And what ends up happening is that so everything gets the California label before, let's say, you know, the state of New York looks into it.
Gotcha.
Let me see if we can listen a little more.
Department of Natural Resources posted an article on their outside blog.
I can't hear it.
Iowa's land.
Did you say you can't hear it?
I can't.
It is very quiet.
Okay. Well, I
If you can-
apologize.
Google Hangouts isn't really the place to like play videos. What you're looking for would be like OBS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a while to set it up.
I was looking into OBS a little bit the other day, and if it's that quiet, then I'll just skip it. But yeah, I think I remember watching this one too. He's he goes into basically, you know, things don't evolve, blah blah blah. You know, like I don't know. The guy he's one of those type of people you would talk to, and he would say something along the lines of, "Well, there's still monkeys. How did we evolve from monkeys?" Like that's kind of his argument.
And the thing is, like, people must have, on many occasions, have told him why that's stupid, but he just keeps saying it anyway. Like, I'm not sure if you guys know on Twitter. I think Pinup probably knows of him. A guy called Scientia he does some debates with theists, live debates, like I did with that fake Andrew guy. And he's a genuine scientist. He's a science teacher. He actually knows his shit, whereas I just babble on. But he was on this hangout with a guy called Joe Chinkowski, who's a young Earth creationist, I think. And basically scientific knowledge quelled incredulity. And Joe Chinkowski, after pretty much every question, was left just mumbling like an idiot, trying to formulate some sort of objection, some sort of question, some sort of retort, for like minutes at a time. And then, like, if he'd finally come up with something, Scientia% would just knock it back down again. And it's that kind of thing that, even after that, Joe pretended he had won that debate. Joe kept using the same arguments that had been refuted live.
Another
I
win for the
figure-
G-Man.
Yeah. I figure that's the kind of shit that all creationists do, who are public.
All the time.
Huh?
That's what Andy does to you all the time.
Yeah, he's got this one argument that says, like, how can an atheist say they're any better than a Nazi? Basically, he invokes Godwin's law in his first sentence. And
that's a strong argument there, man.
well, yeah, I wrote an article debunking it, and every time I probably shouldn't say this because he might watch it and realize what I'm doing, but I'll say it anyway. I've got this thing on TweetDeck where I get alerts every time he says a tweet that has the word Nazi in it. And I just respond to him and everyone he's in the conversation with my article, and it shuts down his argument immediately because they just say, "We'll refute the article."
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure he loves you. I'm sure he loves seeing your name pop up whenever he says.
Fucking
Yeah.
Tom,
And
it's so funny.
That's actually something I was going to write an article about now, which is very sort of petty internet drama. Me trying to stir the shit, but I feel like he might be running scared because a little while ago he was like all massive bravado, waving his tiny dick around the atheist community, saying like, "You're all too weak and too scared to debate me. None of you can take me in a live debate." And then me and actually Scientia% said, "Sure, we'll debate you." And he completely ignored me. Several times he completely ignored me accepting it. And to Scientia%, he basically said, "If you don't give me your real name, I won't debate you." Which is not a requirement he had for me. And he basically asked someone to dox himself so that he would debate. And it's completely ridiculous. He's clearly just trying to evade people. But ever since then, he's pretty much just completely ignored me.
State your name or be banned.
Yeah, that whole thing it blows my mind. It's like people can't like judge you on the merit of your words. You know what I mean? Like you actually have a point to make, or you have I don't know, you have something to say, but it's sort of devalued when you don't give your real name. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that is kind of silly, but that's his reasoning is more existent than that. It's still terrible, but basically, Andrew had his name accessible online, but it wasn't very well available. Basically, to reveal it would be doxing. At the time, anyway. Things have changed now, but back then, to reveal it would have been doxing, and Scientific found it through a complex Google search, which I also did, although I knew his name, so I know it's possible to find it through Google. And he said, basically, he made it clear that he knew the guy's name, but he didn't say what it was. And Fake Andrew said, okay, well, I've got to know your name then. You know, not really for any reason, but that was what he said. Like, he has to have an equal playing field, but it doesn't make any sense. Knowing the person's name doesn't do anything to their arguments.
Yeah.
Now he has actually made his name public. If you search his Twitter name, his actual real name is it's all over the first few results.
Watch your doxing. No, I'm kidding. So, I mean, it's still it's baseless. It's just like you're saying. It's a way to sort of hold something over somebody. I've seen the same thing with Scientology. They do the exact same thing, where they will work to find your name. That's why they take your picture if you go to any of the protests or anything like that.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, they'll take your picture and they'll try to find out who you are.
Wow, shitty tactics. They're almost as bad as the feminists.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put them far and beyond any feminists I've ever ran into. I mean, they're pretty ruthless people.
Man, Eggs is just fuming right now if he's watching this. Shall we return to the topics?
Sure.
Well, wait. First, there is a bit of an echo. Does someone not have like headphones on?
I think it might be Tree,
Oh, is it really?
because I think that's how we were hearing the video before.
Okay, is that better? I just turned my volume down.
Testing. No, I can still hear it.
I'll be back in a second. I gotta step away.
Odd.
Testing. It is still going on, so it's not pin up, and it's not Lance either because he wasn't here before.
Here, let me mute my mic and then do it again.
Testing. Yeah, it is you.
Odd. I have headphones on with a mic.
If you're using the sound card, basically the audio jacks, and you've got a way to do it via USB, use USB because sometimes the analog nature of the audio jacks can cause some feedback.
No, I'm in with USB.
Okay.
That is kind of interesting now that you're hearing
That's
me.
strange.
Hang on just a second. I'll see if I can fix that. But yeah, talk about the theist, anti-theist shit.
Sure. Well, generally, very broadly, very generally, I'm against the existence of religion. I think it would be better if it didn't exist. However, there are certainly people, and I don't want to sound elitist because I know Dawkins has made this comment, but there are certainly people for whom religion is beneficial, at least once they're already religious. I talked to someone who a while ago who was religious, and they said to me, it came up in conversation, they said that homosexuality is wrong because it's unnatural, because the Bible says so. And they didn't really present any reasons why they should follow the Bible. And so I kind of taught them down from an intellectual belief in religion to just using it as an emotional framework, because I figured I kind of convinced them that's what they were doing anyway, and this prejudice was sort of baseless. But what I wouldn't do is recommend that they drop religion entirely, because during the course of the conversation, they explained to me how religion had helped them a lot in certain situations. They will say that religion isn't wholly bad, and I think at some points in history it was actually better that religion existed. But certainly now it's long past its time to be an intellectual framework for the majority. And I think any emotional support it provides, we can start to provide much more really with sort of secular methods. All the community can be done secularly, all the entertainment secularly, all the emotional satisfaction secularly, all that kind of stuff.
Well,
So,
except the fact that most people don't want to die, though. That's the biggest thing. There's not a whole lot of comforting you can offer for that.
yeah, but science is getting there. It's actually
Well, we
quite
just
close.
gotta wait until cybernetic skeptic makes us all robot bodies.
Yeah, yeah. For
Okay,
those that don't know,
how's that?
I can't hear myself, so I think you fixed it.
Okay, sweet.
For those that don't know, Cybernetic Skeptic is a transhumanist on Twitter, and he's a decent chap. And yeah, I agree with you, Lance. Transhumanism probably is going to affect that fear of death. Immortality may be invented in the next 100 or even 50 years.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, why would you be, scared to die or scared to lose your loved ones and see them forever in the afterworld if nobody dies? And I have issues with transhumanism too because oh man, it's already bad enough the amount of people we have on this planet, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's definitely massive social issues, the kind we've never faced as a civilization before, but that kind of quantum shift in the status quo, all it means is that we have to change to accommodate it. It doesn't mean that we die out.
I wouldn't think we would die out necessarily. What do you mean by that, Uzlu?
I mean, some people see with immortality and transhumanism and some other things, they see these massive shifts in the nature of society as reasons why it shouldn't happen, as walls against it happening. Like, we shouldn't do it because of this. But I would say that doing it won't cause some sort of apocalypse or end necessarily. It depends on our reaction to it. It depends on what we do.
I'm just thinking more on the ends of like resources. I don't know. And,
Yeah.
and the thing is when it comes to a lot of large religious groups, I mean, one of the major tenets of a religion is to procreate and pass on pass on the doctrination year after year. I don't think there'd be any kind of man. It'd be weird because you'd have to control population growth.
Exactly. That's what Tom and I had talked about before. I think that if that becomes a viable option, then you should have to be made to where you're sterile first in order to.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far, because what's the reason that we'd need to keep the numbers down? It's space and sustainability on Earth. So what we need to do then is quick march to another planet. We need to do it bloody quickly because we wouldn't have time to let the population grow. But if we colonize another planet, if we do it successfully, then we don't have the space issue anymore. At least not for a while.
If they do ever crack the transhumanism nut there and make people live, let's not say forever, but let's say they extend their lives, 200, 300 years. The planet colonization would be viable, in my opinion.
Yeah, it would be vital. I mean, I think we could probably do it already. We could get there now and set things up, and then gradually, as technology improves, we can terraform within 100 years. We could have Mars looking much more like Earth. Maybe, if that's actually physically possible. I suspect it is, but we don't have as much impetus to do it right now. If we were facing impending overflowing populations, far more than we are now, then we'd have far more impetus to go do it.
So you think that's what's going to have to be the push in order to make that happen?
Not necessarily. I think we'll go to Mars. We'll have a colony before that happens. But if that does happen and we haven't colonized either planet yet, we're going to need to step up our game real quick to do so. The Moon or Mars would serve as habitable colonies potentially. And there's also,
I could see Mars. But the moon is a little tough, especially because it would have such a toll on people's bodies.
Oh yeah, no, there's lots of things to consider, lots of problems that you have to get around. There's
Yeah.
also plenty of space on Earth that we aren't using, just not on land. I mean, it's way more expensive, or it would be, I'm not sure it's been done, to build actual habitations underwater. But if you get to the point where you have so many people that you can't build on land anymore, then that might start to become viable.
I saw something not that long ago, an article that they were building like an underground hotel or condo or something like that you could go to. Let me see if I can pull you guys up a picture.
Well, wouldn't be a great view,
Oh, it's a beautiful view.
is it?
Yeah, it is. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Have they hollowed out a lot of area of the cave and just filled it with nice looking things? Or is it literally just a rock face?
Well, I'll see if I can find a report, but I'll show you some images real quick.
Do you know where it would be located at?
Right off, I don't, but it looks like it would be a really awesome place to stay. Screen share. There we go.
Imagining the cave from Wrath of Khan with all the fauna, flora after the Genesis thing.
Here, can you guys see that?
Not yet.
Oh,
Okay.
anything.
Okay, let's see if it comes up.
It sometimes takes a minute.
How about now?
It says you're sharing now, but it still hasn't come up.
It's just black.
Yeah, I think it will come up in a moment. There it is. Oh, underwater. I thought you said underground.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did I? I meant to say underwater. Is that
You said underwater once, and then the second time you said underground.
underground? Oh my God, the pot's going to my head.
That's exactly what I was doing. Like, I wasn't sure what you meant by the smoking or whatever, but that's exactly what I did before.
Let me see.
Yeah,
All right,
underwater
I can-
hotel. A lot cooler than underground hotel.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Underground hotel, the view would suck.
yeah.
Majorly
That's
suck.
maybe you understand what I was saying now.
The hollowed out cave. Yeah, I was sitting there thinking an underwater cave. That'd be kind of cool, actually. But
Yeah.
apparently, underwater caves are not very fun, from what I've heard. They're just kind of muddy and not very beautiful.
Ruby Falls was cool, but that's all.
Ruby Falls, you said? Yeah. Alice is actually, she just got home a little while ago, and she said that Ruby Falls is a really beautiful underwater cave. But yeah, is that what you were getting at there? You were talking about if we were to stretch out and use land, we could use the water. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Is that our original point there?
Yeah, it was. It's not so much that it would be economically viable, because I'm not an economist, and I wouldn't be able to predict exactly what would happen if we just had that massive population growth. I'm not sure if that would help, like in any way help the economy. I'm not sure if you could allow it to help the economy. But if you had the money to do it, it would be worth doing. You would have to build habitations underwater if you ran out of space on land. But the point was basically that we're running out of space on Earth, but only because we're only including the land in that measurement. There's lots of space on Earth that isn't being used in general. And there's plenty of space in the sky that isn't being used. It's just incredibly difficult to and expensive to build up there. So population growth poses a massive danger to the status quo. But all we have to do is change the status quo, and I think we can make it work with immortality. And a change in the status quo is not a bad thing.
No, I'm not, and I'm not saying that transhuman is necessarily a bad thing either.
Yeah. I have other misgivings about it too, though.
It seems there would be a lot of hurdles we'd have to jump to make it actually work. I just you know the colonizing of other planets would be a nice way to escape some of the issues we'd run into, but when it comes down to like most off-world off-world ventures, it ends up being our planet that's supplying them with everything they need to live anyway. So that becomes a bit of an issue there, but
yeah, give that time. They can start growing stuff there, though.
Yeah, maybe. I know there's going to be some experiments to see what they can grow.
That's interesting.
Yeah, actually, a while back, the whole Mars venture. Do you guys ever follow any of that stuff with the people that were going to be part of the reality show to go to Mars?
I think it's the
It,
Danish show.
Yeah, I think it is Danish.
Mhm.
Thought it was on the moon.
No, it was Mars.
Yeah, I think that one was Mars. And I
Yeah,
think NASA's planning a colonization in 2030.
and they're not just going to send like the bakery people and one girl was a model, I think. You know, that's the kind of people you want up there.
I'm very concerned about that because the thing about being in space and not just space, but being on long voyages with few people and not many of the creature comforts you usually are used to, is that people have to be well trained to get along with each other. Like on the International Space Station, if two people had some sort of feud and they couldn't get over it, that could really hurt productivity. That could leave everyone dead in an extreme situation. And I feel like sending this is not a slight against models, but I feel like sending a model up there who's not trained in that kind of thing, who's not an expert, and a baker and whatever else, there could be problems unforeseen currently that won't be able to be solved.
Yeah, they'd have to make sure everybody's taking saltpeter so that their hormones calm down a little bit. It's really all about not fucking. They just need to not fuck when they're doing these kinds of things, and everything will be fine.
That does
It's
always leave shit
I would.
happening.
Yeah, of course, especially when you have a really small group of people. I mean, unless
Yeah.
they're already, I don't know, sterilized or something, there's going to end up being hormones and issues, I'm sure. And what's the journey to Mars take? It's something unbelievable, right? Like,
Yeah,
what is
it'll
it,
be a
a
while.
couple years just to get there?
It
yeah,
might be
because
that long.
it's involved.
Yeah, it's huge. To get back on the topic though, because we can't actually even leave the planet because the planet's actually just a flat disk covered by a large glass dome, apparently.
Yeah, which has
And
water on top of it and then heaven on top of that.
yes, yeah, it does, and it has little windows that open up to flood the Earth whenever need be.
And the stars are just painted on the inside of the dome.
Yeah, no, they're what have I heard people say? They're holographic. The whole thing's holographic. The sun, the moon, the stars.
I remember someone who might have been featured on Drunken Peasant said that the moon was a hologram.
She said the moon was a source of light, I think,
Someone did say that, yeah. I think
and all the stars are angels.
Oh, that's so cute. That like reminds me of a Disney movie when somebody dies and like the little star twinkles in the sky.
They're literally living a Disney movie. It must be fun.
We are making fun of somebody's religion right now. I feel it.
Yeah, that's pretty much my regular day.
Are there any atheist flat earthers that they believe it's flat, but they don't believe that above the dome is like heaven or whatever?
I mean, I think statistically there would be at least one atheist flat earther,
Yeah, there's got to be some.
but
Here's the
probably
thing.
no more than one.
There's lots and lots of atheists who aren't skeptics, and I think that's not an original idea. I heard that from, I think, Sargon recently. There's lots of atheists who are so, basically just because their parents are, and I'm concerned that there might be just as much indoctrination going on with some atheist families as there is with a lot of theist families. I think the proportion is significantly lower in atheists of acritical people. But yeah, I can believe that there are atheist flat earthers because there are atheist idiots.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with Lance. Statistically, there's got to be one somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty growing movement along a lot of the hardliner, the Bible is history kind of theists.
Yeah, that's fucking concerning.
It is concerning. It is concerning. And I think some of them are out there just to troll the internet. They bought into the whole thing sort of just for the moment so they can fuck with other theists or just fuck with other people in general.
Yeah, but is flat eartherism even trolling at this point? Because so many people, or at least such a vocal proportion of people, actually do believe it and espouse it. Like, is it even extreme enough to be called trolling? Wouldn't you have to go further than that? Like, the Earth is two-dimensional. I feel like that's the next logical
I just
step.
think people do it to. That's the next what?
The next logical step is the Earth is two-dimensional.
Oh, the Earth is two-dimensional. What are dimensions? Who knows? That's great. That would be the next logical step. Yes, I agree with you. We actually live under a pane of glass. We're just we're pressed between something.
Hmm.
I'm thinking around sarcastic people.
There's a couple really big.
I think there's some lag going on.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there is a little bit. Pinup, I cut you off too. Go ahead.
That it's so hard for me not to think that all the flat earthers are trolls because I'm around. I tend to keep company with a lot of people that are sarcastic, just say shit like that for comedy. So every time I see people saying that, I automatically think that they're one of those Reddit smartasses that just do this, It's so hard for me to believe that they're not all fucking trolls. Like, there are really people out there that believe this. It's crazy.
I think, as horrible as it is, sometimes we have to raise our standards for stupidity and believe that people can actually, yes, be this stupid. And not just stupid, but willfully ignorant of facts. Because someone thousands of years ago, some of these conspiracy theories would not have been available to them. Like chemtrails, for example, it wouldn't have been possible to have such an idea. But today, with greater knowledge, they look at the knowledge that, they look at some knowledge and they ignore the knowledge that denies it. Like, they know that planes exist, they know that trails from planes exist, but they don't look at knowledge of what it actually is, and they don't get the impression of how ridiculous their idea is. So it's not just standard stupidity. Because people thousands of years ago, almost everyone was stupid by today's standards. But it's more to it than that. It's a willful ignorance, even if they don't know it's willful, which is sort of a paradox.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a paradox because it has to be somewhat willful, I guess. It blows me away when you talk to somebody about chemtrails though, because if it were true, you would see people, and mostly people that are like in the elite, like politicians and really wealthy people, every time they're in public, they'd be wearing big gas masks. I mean, it's not happening. It's one of the most absurd ones I've heard.
If chemtrails were making people gay, wouldn't pretty much everyone be gay except the elite? But lots of elite are gay.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's just one theory of chemtrails. I don't know if the gay thing is everyone's theory of chemtrails.
Fucking everything makes you gay, man. Skittles makes you gay. Doritos makes you gay.
Yep. Anything that's got it's pumped full of hormones. I mean,
they have estrogen in the toilet paper. You fucking wipe your ass, and then you become a woman.
Is that how you did it, Michelle?
I'm not going to reveal all my secrets. Come on now.
I can just imagine you were a big burly man, and then one day you just wiped your ass, and then suddenly.
Oh, what would he do? He'd wipe his dick away, and it'd just be a big hole there. Oh man.
Well, I mean, we can't confirm or deny that that's actually happened.
But yeah, I mean, we could make a whole case on that, and somebody out there would buy it, and that's what I mean when I'm.
No, there already is someone who bought it.
Oh, really? With the toilet paper?
Yeah, Vigilant Christian. He's saying there's estrogen in the toilet paper.
Oh my god.
Well, this is
like,
sort of
like
crying on camera, man.
Change your chromosomes, but it changes your brain and makes you transgendered.
Does the Vigilant Christian also believe in chemtrails and those types of things?
I think he might.
Man, he is one step away from being a flat earther, that guy. One step.
Yeah, we played one of his comments to me on the last show, if you remember.
Oh, I mean,
that was fun.
I didn't get to see the show from Friday.
Oh, that's why you thought I did a good job then.
What's that?
The one with that I hosted.
Oh no, I saw that show.
Ah.
I'm not talking about our show. I'm talking about the Drunken Peasants.
Oh right, no. Lance was talking about on our show. We showed one of VC's comments.
Oh, maybe I didn't see that. I already don't remember one or the other. I know I watched most of it though, if not all of it, our last show.
Yeah, it was near the beginning, and it was a discussion between Lance and VC. And as I recall, VC said something along the lines of he basically extreme homophobia, right?
Oh yeah, he said I deserve to die.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was a video he did on Hitler saying Hitler wasn't a true Christian. And then I quoted a quote from Mein Kampf where Hitler says everything he does is in accordance to God. And Vigilant Christian is like, oh, just because he said it, that means it's true? Like,
Oh, the irony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the irony.
yeah. You got to follow the Bible, and the Bible says not to kill. And I
Bible also
quoted
says-
Leviticus
Yeah, go on.
where it said, like, kill them faggots.
Yeah.
And he responded, well, if God commands it, then it is just.
Yeah.
Is that what is Leviticus
Wicked
5:5?
people deserve death.
Leviticus 5:5 says, "Kill them faggots." Is that what,
I think it's Leviticus 23:13.
no, is that right?
Kill them faggots.
Kill them faggots. Oh, jeez, that's
But I
horrible.
think it's only male faggots.
Oh,
Yeah,
course.
female faggots are fine. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I remember he not only contradicted himself in the same comment chain, but did it whilst advocating death to an innocent group.
It sounds like he contradicted his entire worldview. I mean, his entire everything he goes on about.
Basically, he's saying, like, Hitler wasn't a true Christian because he advocated killing people. The Bible doesn't advocate killing people. Oh, wait, the Bible does advocate killing people. We should kill people.
But it's okay.
But I'm a Christian. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just once; it's time and time again in the Bible.
Yeah,
It's
Systematically.
It's nuts. I had some Mormons come by here a few weeks ago, and I talked to them because I'm always open to talk to anybody, and kind of we hung out a little bit, and of course they always give you the book and whatnot, and then they leave, read it, and I read the very first story or chapter, whatever it is, in the Mormon Bible, and right off the bat they got God like commanding people to kill people. It's like in the first story.
They do believe you can have spirit babies, because I talked to somebody who is ex-Mormon. He's actually pretty well versed on this. So the Mormon heaven is actually maybe a little bit better than the Christian one.
Oh, you get to be like the god
Well,
of
you get your own
world.
planet.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, Evan Lefever's idea of heaven is better.
Oh, you can have the whole
it's
solar
the best
system. I mean,
heaven.
Honestly, like, I said it before you were here, Lance, but I'll say it again. Evan Lefever's theology is my favorite theology.
Oh, mine too.
I'd have
Because the
to-
vigilant Christian is all like the Illuminati. They're gonna hold us down and fuck our butts. But Evan Lefever is like, oh man, the Illuminati.
Some of them are nice guys, yeah.
It's all cool,
Yeah.
man.
What would be a cool show is to get both of them on at the same time. Like, that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Evan said he wanted to do that.
Yeah, they can just throw their delusions at each other.
I don't know. I think Evan would win. I really do. He seems to be a little bit sharper, a little more witty. Because I'll tell you, when they were talking about on the Drunken Peasants with him about the time travel and whether or not you have a blue box or DeLorean, and he has thought that shit through. You got to leave the planet, wait a little while and then come back. I was just like, oh, this he really has thought about it. I mean, it was funny. Everybody's rehabilitated. Nobody burns in hell, You're just rehabilitated.
Well, I think you burn in hell, but after some burning, there's an end to the burning eventually.
Yeah, it's
Like Hitler's been in heaven 300 years. Okay, you've burned enough. Time to go to heaven.
that form of justice is just manifestly more rational than infinite burning. But the thing is that the theistic infinite burning is not supposed to be rational. It's supposed to be scary. That's why it's there. But Evan Lefever's it doesn't have that motivation, which is why his religion won't spread. But it's nicer. It's much nicer. I like the technological integration, because he wants there to be some sort of theism, but I think he just likes technology, and so he integrates it. And I feel like if there's going to be religions in the future, they might integrate technology more. I think that would sort of cancel itself out, but if there were to be, I think they would integrate technology more, and that would be great. Be a better class of theist.
future nonsense, but we all know when 2036 comes around, we'll know Evan was right.
Do you have any idea how many end times predictions I've survived?
I've survived quite a few also.
Yeah.
But I think there's been like more and more since 2000.
Well, if you think about it, we've survived every single one since we've been alive.
Well spotted. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the technology bit there with Evan Lefevre, and it would be weird because in his future, you're basically like a cyborg. I mean, what do you have? A bunch of nanotechnology implanted into your body to change you from a dog to a non-dog. And
That was
Yeah.
funny.
Well, no, I think it's run by like the power of imagination or something.
I think Evan just takes
imagination.
he takes a lot of sci-fi stuff he likes and makes it into theology.
Yeah,
So
he
nanotechnology
basically.
and stuff
He's
like
like,
that.
I like Terminator, I like
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Yeah, you can see his influences quite clearly.
I
And
wonder
what's
if he
fun-
has like a bit of Donnie Darko mixed in.
What's funny though is that sci-fi is actually it influences all of us to some extent. I mean, that usually is the way people start working toward
Yeah.
their dreams in a way, you know.
Hmm.
It's kind of interesting he brought that up because it's somewhat of a reasonable future. I mean, we could have nanotechnology in us. And now, I don't think we'd be able to shapeshift or it'd be horribly painful. But I couldn't even imagine my body trying to contort into something like that. But
I think yeah, some of that kind of technology that goes more at the human form and does more contortive stuff to it. I think we can achieve a very similar effect by just increasing the investment and the reality of simulations. Because
like the jacking into the Matrix.
sort of, yeah. So right now you can simulate this stuff easily. Like you could simulate a canine turning into non-canine in a laboratory, very easily. It wouldn't be real, of course, and so it wouldn't gamers can get invested in games. That's great, but you still don't feel like it's real. You are invested in it. It's kind of a different thing. But if you get to the point where you have full dive and you're actually in the thing, as you said, like the Matrix.
Well,
You
they'd have
could
to
get
find a way to make
seriously
the deaths
invested.
not hurt.
Well, I mean, if it's completely simulated, then you can do whatever they want. I mean, as an amateur programmer, I know, the limits are pretty much not existent. As if you've got the hardware that does the right stuff, and you have the right access to the hardware, you can do whatever you want with the software.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. We're going to have to, there would have to be some deep investment in understanding the brain and being able to transmit
Yeah.
things to the brain. There was a hoax video out. It's been a while back now, years ago, that somebody had won James Randi's $1 million challenge,
Oh right, yeah.
where the guy has that little helmet on. I remember watching that video at the beginning and saying, this guy's a little bit too young to have a completely bald head. I thought that was really odd, but yeah, that kind of technology would be the closest we.
Yeah, it'll take a while, but neuroscience is coming along pretty quickly. I think we'll get there, 20 or 30 years maybe. We'll have some sort of real interaction with the brain. And until then, virtual reality headsets are coming back again on their sort of cycle, but this time they actually work pretty well, and they're actually very convincing, so they might stick around this time.
Boy, wasn't a big
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, massive success. Mario Tennis.
Speaking of and neurosurgeons and stuff,
Ben Carson.
Ben Carson?
Ben
Yeah.
Carson.
Whew. That guy's a character.
Yeah, he's quite remarkable.
And man, I personally know a lot of people that really like the guy, and they would vote for him for president.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I
unfortunate.
have someone in my family who's a big Ben Carson fan.
Oh,
Yeah, and what it is, it seems to me, it's the people that were going for Trump, and they've been basically owned so many times by their family and friends. Are like, oh well, Ben Carson. It's like they'll drop the
I
crazy
support a
down
black guy.
Yeah, maybe that has something to do with it, but I think it's more along the lines of they just want a Republican to win.
Yeah, as much as Trump has a lot of support, I think it's at least partly a novelty. And I don't think he would win if he was put up against either Hillary or Bernie. And we can maybe get into that in a moment, but I think with the Republicans, there's something interesting I saw, which you guys may have seen. It's sort of a meme or an image that was going around. It had Trump on the left and Carson on the right, and Trump was saying, "I say idiotic things loudly," and Carson saying, "I say idiotic things calmly." And you've got these people in the middle all cheering for Trump, and then a few of them nearer Carson are just sort of looking around and walking towards him. Because, like, yes, they're both saying the same things that the Republican electorate like, or the people anyway, the Republican people like, the same moronic things, but Carson says it in a more sane manner. Even though what he's saying is insane, the manner is more sane.
I think that guy is self-medicated out the ass. He seems like he's on some kind of dopamine or something.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Yeah, he's on like an antidepressant or something weird. I don't know what it is.
I find his voice creepy as fuck. Like, I don't find it soothing or anything like that. I just find it like the most devious it could possibly be.
Devious? I wouldn't say it sounds devious at all. He just, in some ways, he seems so disinterested. I don't know how to describe it. Just
what also seems like he's putting literally the minimum possible effort into everything he says, every word he says. Like he could enunciate 1%, and it would be better than what he's doing.
What's funny is that I see him as he's sitting there calculating out everything he says, and it's just taking him forever to process it through his brain, and it comes out real slow. Like that's the way I see him when he speaks. He seems to be just trying to be as perfect as possible. It's almost like a lie. Like it's almost like you're being told a lie when he speaks. It feels that way to me.
Hmm. It's strange though that 3 of the 4 major candidates in both parties are not politicians. Well, okay, Bernie is. Let me rephrase that. They're not traditional politicians. They're not the kind of thing you would expect from an election. Like all the previous U.S. elections, they've all been politicians, all been classic, ordinary politicians. This time we've got 3 of the 4 are not classic, ordinary politicians. Hillary being the exception, of course.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to the people that are on top, you're right. Got a point. Although Bernie is, but yeah.
Yeah, and of course there's lots of other runners, but they don't really make any difference. I mean, pretty much the most you can get in any field that appeal to people is 2. 1 would be unusual, 2 would be about right, and 3 would be unusual as well. There's 2 front runners in both of them, so I don't think you're going to get anyone else in either party that has any sort of impact. And they all have pretty low percentages in the polls too. It could switch though.
Yeah,
Trump or
it really
Carson could go down. And as much as I'd hate to say it, Bernie's campaign could potentially slow down before the election. I don't think it will, but it's possible. And I don't think Hillary's going to lose any attention because all the mainstream news networks are pushing her.
Yeah, and a lot of her supporters are like the diehard Democrats that also just want a Democrat to win.
Yeah, no matter what they say.
Right,
what
right.
They think. And they're still scared of socialism.
Yeah, whatever that's all about.
Damn socialists.
If they're that scared of socialism, they should call up the local fire department and tell them that they're going to pay them every month or something along those lines to come to their house. I mean,
anarcho-capitalism is just anarchy, as much as they'd like to say it's not.
Did anybody catch the interviews with the Democrats that Rachel Maddow did last night?
No, I didn't. I was going to watch it today.
Well, I seen Bernie's and I haven't watched Hillary's yet, but it's on.
How was it?
It was actually pretty good. It was.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's in my ideal, and I know that at least I know Pinup is a Bernie supporter, and it's kind of weird having us all be a little bit biased like that on this. Lance, where do you sit on the whole thing?
Bernie.
Yeah, you're Bernie too, so all 4 of us are.
But I'd take Hillary over any Republican.
I agree with that, actually.
Yeah,
the
I agree with
DP
that.
have said that they'd have Trump over Hillary, but I think Hillary, even though she's she's clearly lying about lots of things. The thing she's
Yeah,
saying.
I don't know what she believes, but it
Yeah.
can't be as stupid as wanting to build a fucking wall.
Yeah, I don't think Trump's honest about that either. But the thing is, like, the way that Hillary's lying, she's lying towards things I like, things that are sane and rational, like tolerance and that kind of thing. She would actually uphold gay marriage, I think, whereas Trump is less likely to, even though I think he's actually more progressive than most of the Republicans, and most of the rest of the Republican field wouldn't uphold such things, and they're lying towards horrible things, like Trump, for example. I don't know. Perhaps their honest position is
Well,
that
I
Trump
think
is actually
pretty
better than
much.
Hillary, but I don't know.
I think
I
the
think pretty
highlight.
much
Go ahead.
every Republican except Trump are kind of like, gays are trying to take the rights of Christians.
Yeah, which is kind of silly, considering it's the exact opposite way around.
Well, the highlight for last night was they got Rachel and Bernie got to talking about how the Republicans, are pushing for more strict guidelines as far as voters, the right to vote.
Yeah,
So
that's really
something
ridiculous.
that Bernie had said,
Well, they're cheating.
Yeah, they are.
if the Republicans can't face a free election, they should get another job, which is
Yeah.
so true. And it was so
Yeah,
spot
that's
on.
well said.
Yeah.
I gotta respect that though. Can't win, cheat.
Yeah, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's what they always say.
It really disgusts me, and it happens in this country too. And it's disgusting, as I say, that the sort of region adjustment, region modification, to get people who vote for your party into the majority in every area. So, like, if one area gets 80% Republican, 20% Democrat, then you give some of the people from that area to an area next door that gets the other way around, and you're more likely to get a better share, because it goes by region. You can fuck the system like that, and I didn't know that kind of shit was happening in the US and actually in the UK until fairly recently, and it's horrible. I mean, it's not quite the death of democracy, but it's a stab with a pretty large knife in democracy.
David Cameron
Yeah.
fucked a pig.
He did, yeah. Well,
That's pretty much my understanding of UK politics.
Oh
yeah,
my
that's
God.
that's pretty much the understanding of the news when it happened as well. Um, so yeah, he didn't actually fuck a pig, but you can say that, and I'm not going to actually correct you, because that's pretty much what the story was. But it was some stupid ritual. I mean, the system in this country, as much as I'd like to think it isn't like this, I think it is mostly just rich kids who went to the right college become politicians, and it's unfortunate. It's just fortunate that the positions they espouse are far more left. I'll say left, but not necessarily towards communism, not that far, than the US. It's left of center, whereas the US is more right of center. And Bernie is actually left of center. Bernie would be he's slightly left of the average of UK politics, actually. But we've got someone here you guys might have heard of called fuck, I've forgotten his name. He's sort of the Bernie of the UK. He's not exactly the same, but he's more liberal than the average as well. And I'm actually kind of hoping he'll win, because he seems like, although I don't agree with everything he says, he seems like he's much more rational than most of the other idiots here.
And there's plenty of idiots to choose from on the one side. I mean, there's a whole, 10 of them. What is it, 10, 13? Oh, man, and you never hear any good ideas coming out of the right. In my personal opinion, they're like real change. It's always like we want to kind of go backwards. We want to go backwards,
Jeremy
Good
Corbyn.
old days.
Yeah, regressives, literal regressives, not the AIU style regressives. I always thought that word was stupid, and actually a discussion for a previous Rational Roundtable was discussing, is AIU regressive? We didn't actually get onto it, but I was hoping to maybe talk about that, because I think the word regressive, as AIU uses it, is wholly incorrect usage of the word. It's not helpful. Although I would say that the feminists have some regressive policies, like the sex-negative ones, for example. That is regressive. Regressivism does not describe their entire mentality. It just describes that small part of it.
I definitely have an issue with the word regressive on a couple different levels, and it some of it has to do with like it coming out of the liberal sphere to call other liberals regressive, and it's sort of it rings to me to be a lot like when the Republican Party they basically try to make the word liberal a bad word, you know. No, you're a dirty liberal, you know. It's that
Well, it
kind of
pretty much is a
mentality.
bad word to conservatives.
It is a
Yeah.
bad word to them in a way, right, and just the way they paint it that way, I think that I don't know, it doesn't really have any substance, of course. That's one aspect of it. The other is that it seems to be Orwellian. It's like we're going to take the word progressive and people that label themselves as progressive, and we're gonna call them regressive. It's like it's almost like
Yeah.
trying to sort of redefine the word in a way.
Yeah. Which is a tactic that the feminists use indispensably, like consistently redefining words, like sexism and racism, to defend their sexism and racism. But yeah, I mean, they
Yeah,
do it as
I
well.
love
But
how they say prejudice plus power, because they're just admitting that they have prejudice.
well,
Like I'm a prejudiced fuck, but it doesn't matter because I don't have power.
Well,
they're
and it has,
racism and sexism apologists feigning racism and sexism opposition. And not just apologists, but active racists and sexists too.
yeah, I just have an issue also in a lot of times people that are sexist or racist in that way, they will use that term was reverse racism or reverse sexism.
Yeah, that's disgusting, that term.
That is, it almost makes it seem like a good thing what they're trying to do. It's very odd.
Yeah, it does.
Basically, what they're saying
I'm
is
undoing racism.
basically what they said. What the argument they're making there is your race does not deserve equal treatment when it comes to racial discrimination, which is racist. You know.
Yeah. It's very weird, but and it kind of goes along with the regressive term in that way of where it's sort of newspeak, you know.
Yeah. I have to admit I have not read 1984, and I should. But
Oh, it's a great book.
the things I know about it are, yes, that does sound very much on the theme of the language that's used in that story, and it's very concerning. It's actually kind of strange that sort of politics has moved, as far as I can tell. I'm not a historian, I might be missing something here, but politics has moved roughly in this sort of linear direction, and the two sides have been pretty well defined. But now we've got this cancer in the left, as I think Sargon has called it. I don't know of any analogous political movement that's ever existed that's been and actually antithetical to the side it purports to be part of. I may be wrong. But I would say that they call themselves progressives and other people call them progressives. But if I ever call them progressives, I'm not saying that they're actually progressive. I'm just using that as the label because that's assigned to them. I don't think that feminists are progressive. I think to call them regressive is reductive and misleading because they're not conservatives, and a large proportion of conservatives are actually regressive. But I don't think they're progressive either. I think what they're trying to do is not to progress, and I really hope that doesn't represent the progression of the species.
It's funny because in their minds it is progressive, you know,
yeah.
And which is sort of odd.
They've found a way accidentally to convince themselves what they're doing is rational, and not just rational but morally right. And I think again to mention Sargon has a very good understanding of this, and he's doing a video series recently. And he's done 3 so far about left-wing ideas and just progressive ideas really, and the problems they have. And he gets into the psychology, and it's actually quite interesting. And I think he makes some very good points.
Now I saw that Sargon was on Jenny McDermott's stream.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I haven't seen it all yet.
Yeah, I watched a few minutes of it.
Greener.
What's that pinup?
Said I haven't seen it, but I heard about it from Greener.
Yeah, I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but yeah. Anyway, getting off that, we're getting off topic now a little bit, but bring it back to, Lance, I didn't get to touch on you about the anti-theist thing. I didn't get to quite see where you lay on that issue. Are you anti-theist, or, I mean, what does that mean to you?
Not really sure what it means to me. There's like so many terms.
Being
Uh,
thrown around like that, yeah.
So, are you
yeah,
opposed
there's just
to, sorry, are you opposed to religion in general, or do you just have atheism for yourself, and you don't think that other people should also have it? You don't have it as a policy.
well, I mean, I would definitely like other people to be atheists, but I wouldn't want to force it on them.
Yeah. And do you dislike
Try to,
people just for being theists?
no,
I think we agree then.
unless they are like, affecting, effectively trying to affect someone.
Yeah.
Like Ben Carson, I'm a Christian. Gays don't deserve to have the same rights.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It seems a little fundamentalist.
I would say that what we're against there is their actions and their policies, which are mostly or partly derived from religion, but it's not because of religion that we dislike them. And I don't know if I'm misrepresenting you guys. That's what I'd say though. And
Yeah,
I would agree. I would agree with you that if someone is using religion to do something horrible, then I would dislike that person, but only for doing something horrible,
yeah,
not for
yeah.
being religious.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's more or less where their actions are derived. Like where are they getting these ideas to follow through and take action on things? Like I have more of an issue with that part of it, the ideology, what it's actually making them do. Uh, but I do believe that most people are smart enough to maybe, in a way, hear metaphors or see stories that reflect what they're doing and wake up to it. And that for that reason, I would never be. I don't know. Anti-theist almost just seems to me like I'm anti-people. I'm an anti-person.
Mm.
You know, it's too fundamentalist for me. It's almost like a fundamentalist version of atheism, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and the anti-theists I've met, with the exception of Christopher, who I feel like I should present him briefly, his argument briefly, because he's not here and he wanted to be.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you know it, please do.
I know a little bit of it, but the anti-theists I've met, with the exception of him, have been wholly unpleasant people. And I mean anti-theist as anti-theist person, not anti-theism.
Right,
Um,
right.
and there haven't been many, I admit, but they haven't been nice people. To briefly present what I think is his argument, and don't assume I know it exactly, but um, this is what he would say. I think to start with is that if someone is theist, then a part of their person is theist, and do we not? If we dislike religion, do we not dislike the part of that person that's religious?
Again, I think that would depend on what they do with it. Because to me, I can wholeheartedly like, somebody like Evan LaFavor, who is batshit crazy, but I could hang out and have a beer with the guy and probably
Yeah.
play some board games. Like, I don't know.
Board games with God.
What was that?
It's think he's God.
Yeah, he thinks he's God. Well, he doesn't think he's God. He doesn't like the God word.
He's the biological father of Jesus Christ, though.
Right, yeah. And he made heaven.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing with Evan LaFavor's ideology is that it's not inherently dangerous, I don't think. If someone was, for example, and perhaps to make Chris's argument a bit, if someone was like a skinhead, if someone was a neo-Nazi, but they had like a family and they lived a normal life, so they didn't consume their entire being, would you hate the ideology? Well, hate may be a strong word, but would you dislike or condemn the ideology or part of the person as well? If someone said we should gas all the Jews, would you say that's horrible or you're horrible? Which one do you think would come first?
Oof.
I would
Well,
probably say horrible, honestly. If I'm answering honestly, I should probably say the other, but I'll probably
Sorry,
Yeah.
which one did you say you would say? You cut out.
I would call the person horrible initially.
it is kind of funny you say it too,
Well,
because how would you stop that? You would stop that by possibly shooting the person. You can't necessarily shoot his ideology.
Well, yeah, the ideology can't do anything. The person is the conveyor of the ideology.
You
Yeah,
can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea.
but you can't kill an idea, right? And so to really stop making those people, you got to attack the idea and not necessarily the person to make
Well,
it stop.
but Tom was
You can
saying if
actually
the
kill an
person
idea, though.
wasn't necessarily consumed by it. Because if a person isn't necessarily fully consumed by it, and you can count them on other levels, there is a chance that you can kind of systematically break their reasoning down for why they want to kill the Jews, so to speak.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's tough when we talk about that too, because that's also like with the Nazis and stuff. That had a lot to do with also the nationalism. There's a lot of going
Yeah.
on there with that mind fuck. It was on many levels.
Yeah, I would say that with it might be different for me with theism and with neo-Nazism, but I'm not sure exactly where I stand on that. But with theism, at least, I see most theists as victims of it, and I mentioned this before the show, I think. Or did I mention it during the show? If I did, I don't want to repeat myself.
Yeah, but just to summarize, yeah, you were saying that oh, go ahead, do it.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think the majority of theism is due to childhood indoctrination. I know that there are people for whom that is not the case, but I think the majority is that way, and I see that as obviously you can break out of it, but it's not your choice to be childhood indoctrinated or to be a victim of that. And I do see that as something that people are a victim of. And if someone is shown incontrovertible reasoning to drop their theism and they still don't, I still wouldn't blame them because, I mean, I would blame them intellectually, but not interpersonally, because people aren't rational machines. They don't operate completely on rationality. There's an emotion to it as well, and we have to include that when we judge people. So I would say that with theism, I view almost all theists as victims of it, and even those who have become theists later in life. For the most part, that will have been because of emotional trauma. In fact, I haven't met a theist who didn't used to be a theist, who didn't go through some sort of emotional or physical trauma to become that way.
Dude, and the people that are preying on them, they totally exploit that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole way. Like we were talking about Ted Haggard, I think, before the show. Ted Haggard's one of them. I mean, he's making you get into an emotional state, and it's different for different con men, quote unquote. And the thing is, even some of those con men, they buy their fucking con. But some of them will work you up into speaking tongues, and other ones will bring you to crying, over Jesus dying for you or whatever. It's a really powerful tool. I mean, it's so much easier to reach people through their emotions than it is through reason.
Yeah, it generally is, which is unfortunate. And that's why I've commented before that although Christian charities, I'm sure, do a lot of good work for the world, their reason for doing it, I assume for the most part, is recruitment. Because the desperate are more likely to be convinced by something that tells them they can have eternal life. And that's a really, not just a difficult situation, but a desperately unfortunate situation, because you've got people who really need help. Someone else provides help. But with that help, there's this hook, there's this emotional hook, there's this recruitment drive for something potentially horrible. And I can't condemn Christian charities in general, but I definitely condemn the recruitment aspect of it. And I think that there are degrees as well.
Yeah. So I could never claim the title anti-theist. I don't think ever. I would feel horrible. I mean, it would seem to me that I'd have to be against people that I personally know, work with, and it would seem like I'd be prejudiced toward them in a way if I took that stance. Like I would judge something about the person before I really got to know who they really were, just based on one point.
Yeah, because no one is fully defined by an ideology.
No, most religious people I know aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always some other aspect of people, even atheist Rue.
Yeah, even the Rue.
I'm sure he has friends that he's perfectly nice to, and there is a person there as well. We don't tend to see it, but what we see is not pleasant in the slightest. It's barely human.
Yeah, but if you listen to like his podcasts and stuff, he's pretty awesome with his fans. I gotta say that.
It probably is, yeah.
Hmm. Well, is there anything you guys want to touch on before we wrap this up?
I would just make a statement on the anti-theism thing. If I ever refer to myself as an anti-theist, it's not that I'm against people who are theist, and it's not even that I'm against religion in total, but I'm against religion in general. I would prefer a world without it than a world with it. That's the only extent to which I'm anti-theist, but I do tend not to use the title because of those other two possible interpretations of it, especially because theists will tend to think you mean one of the two more extreme interpretations.
Right.
So I tend not to use that.
It's kind of like a woman who says she's a feminist, but she's not necessarily saying she buys into all the deep bullshit that they spout and
Yeah.
try to get people banned or whatever from
Yeah.
everything.
And they genuinely are reasonable feminists as well.
They really are. They really are.
C.H. Summers and Cult of Vivian, two that come to mind, both Gamergate supporters, both feminists.
Mm-hmm.
They make some pretty valid points about both male and female disadvantages, but the reason they call themselves feminists is because they look at the scope of the entire world, not just the first world. They don't believe the first world problems that advantaged white girls have are the reason to be feminists. They believe that genuine problems, which I won't go into in detail, but other reasons to be feminist. And I actually agree with Cult of Vivian went through a bunch of things, a bunch of reasons she's a feminist and why she identifies as one. And I had to say I agree with almost everything she said there.
When it comes to advocacy, like you need to have advocacy for all different groups of people. I don't see an issue with that. It's just how far are you going to push it? You know, don't push too far. Get treated fairly. Make sure that you point out injustice when it is injustice.
Yeah.
How women are treated in the Middle East or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like when it's actually pertinent to making everything better for everybody.
Yeah, there's so much shit going on in Saudi Arabia. It's intense how fucked up that country is.
Especially getting crucified.
Yeah, that shit's horrible.
That kind of shit doesn't even surprise me anymore. That's really horrible. It should at least surprise me.
Oh god, it
just
is
keeps
horrible.
fucking happening as well.
Why is a kid being crucified? What the fuck is going on with these people?
One word, I suspect. I haven't heard the story, but this is my suspicion. Islam. Is it something to do with Islam?
Yep, I pretty much think so.
Right. Good-o. So this is why this is a point where I might say, like, okay, I'm anti-theist. Like, fuck theism for this reason. Yeah.
You bastard.
I just don't want the kids getting crucified.
Yeah, that shit is horrible.
For that shit, like, even like getting on Twitter and seeing those pictures of dead kids, like, it gets to me. I can't lie. Like,
I mean,
such a fucking girl.
That was the whole reason that Al Qaeda
misogynist.
actually put down ISIS was over the killing of children. I think
Too extreme for Al Qaeda.
That was their split. Yeah,
Hasn't Al Qaeda like killed kids before?
I don't think it is this in the same way, like with the beheading and things like that. You know,
pretty sure they used children or at least civilians as meat shields before.
As shields, yeah, I've heard about that stuff, but they don't go around like slaughtering whole villages, like men, women, and children, like the Amalekites or something. You know.
They're not quite as demonstrably or completely evil.
Or brutal, just brutal like that. Yeah.
They don't go to the maximum extent of evil.
I do have some people that just got here a little while ago, and I gotta kind of wrap this up. Lance, Pinup, do you guys want to put any last thoughts in there?
No, I'm good.
And Uzulu's pretty much said everything I would have said about anti-theism.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, thanks for joining me this afternoon for me anyway. I guess it's evening for some of you, or even earlier.
10 o'clock at night.
Oh, was it 10? What?
It's 10:30 for Lance, 9:30 for me.
Is that right? Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, guys, have a good evening. Hopefully,
jolly good show.
Yeah, we can do this again soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, have a good evening.
All right.